Finale of the ICC ODI World Cup 2023. The match will be played at the Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad at 2 p.m. on Sunday, and over 1 lakh spectators will be present. And you can bet your bottom dollar there'll be a lot of celebrities and politicians and the who's who of the world here to watch the mega clash. Both the teams are on a winning streak. Team India has been unbeaten so far in the campaign. They won all their 10 matches this time around, and then the other side is Australia that have also won their last 8 matches after the first 2 defeats in the league stage. Interestingly, both teams met each other in that opener for them in the World Cup, and India managed to defeat Australia by 6 wickets. The partnership between Virat Kohli and KL Rahul that day made sure that the Kangaroos were left to lick their wounds. But it was that match where the Indian batting lineup was in a spot of bother, and then Virat Kohli was dropped. Was that the turning point? Not just for him, but for the Indian team? Well, we'll know on Sunday. But the final is also a reminder, of course, of the scar that Australia left for us in the 2003 World Cup final when Ricky Ponting and company completely humiliated the men in blue and registered a staggering 125-run victory. Since then, of course, we did make the final of 2011 at home and won the title in Mumbai at the Wankhede. So some consolation, some solace really that came our way. But Indian fans will be hoping we can avenge that loss against Australia this time around. And there are many similarities between the 2003 and the 2023 finale. Back then, Australia were the unbeaten team. This time, India is the unbeaten team in the campaign. And in 2003, an Indian was leading the runs tally, just like Virat Kohli is leading the runs tally this time around. And Rahul was the wicketkeeper for the team. But this time, India has the home advantage and the support of 1 billion people that have worked as the 12th man. So, will India win its 3rd ODI World Cup title this time? First up, let's begin with this report.
The stage is set and the teams are ready. It's time for the biggest cricket match of the year, the ODI World Cup finale. It's time for India versus Australia at the Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad. Both teams faced each other in their opening match of this edition of the marquee tournament. The men in blue dismantled Australia and went on to win the match by 6 wickets. This time, India is looking forward to win the trophy for the 3rd time and is running super high on confidence. The men in blue are yet to lose a match in this tournament. If they beat the Aussies in the finale as well, then Rohit Sharma and company would become just the 3rd after Australia and West India to remain undefeated in an ODI World Cup. On the other hand, Australia is known to perform at the big stage. Despite losing the opening 2 matches, Australia went on to win all the remaining matches in the World Cup and will now aim to win the prestigious trophy for the record 6th time. If we look at the head-to-head record, both teams have met each other in the ODI World Cup 13 times. Australia has emerged victorious in 8 matches. India and Australia last clashed in the final of a World Cup back in 2003. Australia won that game by 125 runs and lifted the World Cup trophy for the 3rd time. But now India has the home advantage and a deadly bowling lineup which is capable of defending low totals as well. Together with their in-form batting lineup, they are the team to beat. Both teams will have to bring their A game to the final to be able to beat the other.
We're in the final stage of the World Cup, and it's been an absolute pleasure for me to have with us the best expert panel this World Cup anywhere on Indian television. I'm joined in the studio with 1983 World Cup winner Mohinder Amarnath. With me today is a special guest, former English cricketer Monty Panesar is with us in our studios. Monty, your friend Graham Swan, who's wearing the England Lions jersey today, is joining you from where? Dubai, is it, Swanee?
Abu Dhabi.
Abu Dhabi, right.
Hello, Monty.
Hello, Swanee. That's my spin twin.
both of us. I think we came to India.
Honestly, seeing that man's face makes me smile like you would not believe. What a hero, Monty Panesar.
We go back Northampton days. We were spin partners there, and then back in 2012 when we came to India, we were spin partners then.
Yes.
So, me and Swanee, I think we beat India, didn't we? In India.
Well, it was all down to you, mate. I just picked up the scraps.
No, it was down to him. He's the best.
Well, our regular Murli Karthik is not there, so we've brought in Monty Panesar to replace one left-arm spinner with another. But Venkatesh Prasad, Ayaz Memon are also with us. Big thanks to all of you gentlemen for being with us. Jimmy Paji, let me begin with you. Big stage. The Indian team has shown they are the big stage players this time around, isn't it? Even though it is Australia, would you say India is starting as the favourites in this one?
Yeah, definitely. No doubt about it. I think the way they have been playing in this World Cup, you don't see any weaknesses over there because they have covered everything. Everybody's in form. When you're going for a big game, you always like to go with that kind of a confidence, which is already there. So I have full faith that India has a chance. India has an opportunity to win this world because they have the team to win the cup.
Yes, they have the team. They've also shown that it's not just on paper. They're delivering. Somebody is delivering. In fact, more than a few players are delivering on a daily basis. Monty, you're joining us for the first time. Give me your thoughts of what you've made of the Indian campaign.
Yeah, look, I think a lot of people have been surprised how dominant and ruthless they've been. And I think, that game against Australia when, I think Mitchell Marsh dropped the catch off Virat Kohli.
Yes.
After that, they just really kind of after beating Australia in such a difficult circumstances under the light, they really grew in confidence, and game after game, they just got better and better. And then Mohammad Shami, when he came into the fold, he just kind of was the final piece to this team, which is probably the strongest ODI team we've seen, for a long, long time. And it's just brilliant to see, India doing so well. Going to, I think, for the final, I think Australia, they'll be a little bit nervous. They'll be knowing that the first game when they played in Chennai, they didn't do too well against the spin, and in fact, at the Ahmedabad Stadium, the ball kind of turns similar, to Chennai, and that'll be back in the minds of the Australian batsmen.
Graham, will Australia be too bogged down, as Monty said? Will they have the memories of the first match, which was the campaign opener for both of these sides? Or has a lot of water flowed under the bridge since then? I mean, look at the resurgence and the momentum that Australia has built since then.
Well, there'll be a bit of both. Any cricketer, it's very natural to hold those demons inside when you've lost to a team. And this Indian side, they haven't shown any weaknesses throughout this tournament. Australia have shown glaring weaknesses, as Monty said, against spin. And even against South Africa in the last game, they squeaked over the line. They didn't, dominate a game, only chasing 212. They nearly made a hash of it. So Australia have limped into the final, whereas India have skipped and cartwheeled their way into the final. So I think if India approached the game with the same sort of positivity and same mindset they did the semi-final, there's still no contest. India will win. But Australia are a team you can never, ever write off. Unfortunately, for an Englishman to say that, it makes me feel a bit sick to the stomach to say that. But these are the two best teams, and they are in the final. And this is the grandest final we're going to get. My mouth is wet with anticipation for this game. Of course, I was supporting India in this one. There won't be a single Englishman on the planet who was cheering for Australia in this game. And I just think with it, like Monty said, the way that since that drop catch went against Australia, it's been Mount Everest for India. Everything has been vertical. It's all the way up. And Shami's been the icing on the cake. And I hope he does it again in the final.
Yes, we're still waiting for you to don that Indian jersey. You've teased our viewers for that.
You know what? I forgot to bring it. One thing I forgot.
I'm sure you can find one Indian jersey in Abu Dhabi.
You're going to have to put up with this instead. You know what? If I could go back in time, I would be the guy who made replica shirts with Vera on the back, and I'd sell them because every single Indian, there must be 2 billion of those in the world that have been sold. I could be rich, man. Oh, well, never mind.
I'm sure you can find an Indian jersey or a Virat jersey somewhere in Abu Dhabi also. So get onto your phone and, get your contacts working, and I'm sure they can source a jersey for you. But, Ayaz, you were very right. You were pointing out earlier in one of our earlier shows that since that dropped catch, look at the turnaround for both Virat Kohli, who's had 3 tons and has even scored his record, breaking for 50th ODI ton. And look at the run for India. had that catch not been dropped when he was on 12 and he eventually went on to make 85 and that beautiful partnership with KL Rahul as well, who knows what could have happened, but this is how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was a stroke of luck, and I think India really capitalized on it in that match and subsequent matches. And it's just, see, look, when the tournament started, we were talking of who are the likely semi-finalists. Out of 5 teams, you have to choose 4, Pakistan being the other one, apart from the 4 semi-finalists who made the last 4 or the knockout. But now it's a 2-horse race. And in this 2-horse race, actually, India have got the better of Australia in that match. So, is there a psychological advantage? I think so. I think what has been highlighted by the spin twins here is also how Australia have struggled against South Africa. 20 runs more, and who knows whether it would have been South Africa or Australia in the semi-final. Having said that, winning is a habit. And what we've seen of these Aussies, even in this tournament, there's a cussedness. If they're in a crisis, they try and emerge from it with, guts, glory, patience. I mean, Pat Cummins, apart from maybe Virat Kohli and a few other batters, has perhaps batted the longest in this tournament. So that's how strongly how strong their desire is. And they've had a great run over the last 2 years, Shivani. After winning the T20 World Cup in 2021, they won the WTC final. They didn't do too well in the T20 World Cup played in Australia, but they won the Ashes. So they would want to cap this 2-year cycle off with a win in this World Cup. Now it's up to India to stop them.
Venki, what do you think? Would it matter what happened in the group stage, or is it a clean state when you get into a final like this, especially 2 of the top teams of the tournament?
Absolutely. I think these 2 teams are the top teams in this tournament without a doubt. In fact, if you look at the points table as well, Shivani, though South Africa was in the 2nd position, they were equal when it comes to points, both South Africa and Australia. So in that sense, Australia was also as good as South Africa and could have been in the 2nd position. And 2 best teams are playing. They've got the momentum on their side. Obviously, India has not lost a single game. They've gone through to the finals, crushing, dominating every opposition, who has come in their way. Having said that, Australians have shown a lot of character. They didn't have a good start in the tournament. A lot of them were writing them off after Australia lost 3 back-to-back matches, and how they've come back. They've shown a lot of character, and that's what this Australian team is all about. Over the years, that's exactly what they've shown, and that's why they've been 5-time champions. If you look at it, and we've been talking about drop chances, where Mitchell Marsh dropped Virat Kohli, right? If Mujib had taken Maxwell, probably Australia wouldn't even have made it. Yes. Right, or probably it would have been even more difficult for them to make it to the semis, right? And not only that, even the last game, when both Australia and South Africa were playing, there were a lot of drop catches by South Africans. If they had converted a couple of them, and again, probably we would have seen a different team in the finals. But then again, hats off to Australia for showing the character. So I think 2 best teams are there in the finals, and they have got all the bases covered. They have ticked all the boxes, both the sides. Right. They've got all-rounders. They've got the depth in batting, but still, I feel Indian batting is looking far ahead, stronger than the Australian batting as of now. So definitely, India has got the upper hand in this game.
On speaking about the batting, Jimmy Paji, you have, of course, pointed out how the visiting teams haven't been able to adapt to Indian conditions very well. Obviously, the Indian team batting has been in form. They've played very well. Even Shreyas Iyer, his century the other day was a good one to watch. Virat Kohli has had a ton under his belt recently. What do you make of the Australian batting? Travis Head has brought in a little bit of firepower and maybe a better balance for them at the top of the order. Cameron Green didn't quite work. Alex Carey didn't quite work. English is there. English got some runs in the last match. Do you think that they have a better balance now with the batting especially?
I think their strength is batting, not bowling, especially in Indian conditions. But I think the technique is very poor for subcontinent cricket, because if you go back to the first game against Australia, when Jadeja bowled Smith, and the way he defended, it looked ugly, to be very honest. If you're a world-class batsmen, if you're at the top of the list, you don't defend like that. Probably you can do it in a place like Australia or where the wickets are true. So same here, I think in Ahmedabad, if the wicket starts spinning or take even little spin, I think the technique is going to be exposed. So then they will struggle against spinners. Not that they won't struggle against pace bowler. They can struggle against pace bowler also.
Yes.
But their strength is still batting. They rely on Warner and other top order batsmen to perform. But unfortunately, I think Smith is not the same player what they used to be, because age comes to everybody, to be very honest. But probably we still feel that he can do it or he cannot do it. But I think they rely mostly on Warner to provide a good start and an explosive start.
Yes.
And with head and all that. So I think they're going to attack the Indian batting.
Actually, yeah, and in the last match, Smith did play that role that he was needed to play, which was, you know, not really an ODI innings, more a test cricket type of innings where he was just there on the crease because somebody needed to stay on the crease at that time. So he played that role in that match perfectly. But that might not work in every match.
No, but the situation was different. They have plenty of overs too, and
Absolutely.
they had to bat and they bat till the end. So somebody had to play an anchor inning over here. But I think the Indian, when you look compare with Indian batting and the way Indian batsmen play against spin, especially, it's totally different. Looks, you know, like two different teams altogether. And I think all the batsmen are informed, and whether they talk about the opening or the rest of the batsmen. So I think the Indian team is ready for this big occasion.
Yeah.
So I feel I'll give a thumbs up to Indian team.
You're giving a thumbs up to Indian team, but I do want to ask you, I mean, you're one of those who's played the World Cup final here and won a World Cup. So give me a sense of what it's like on the eve of a World Cup final or on the morning of a World Cup final.
So I think once you win a semi-finals, I think you're very relaxed.
Okay.
Because now you're going to the bigger stage and all that. Your dream is to be there and playing the finals. It cannot be better place than playing final in Ahmedabad.
Yes.
Actually, when 100 odd people are there, the whole country is looking up to you and all that. So in 83 is the same thing. When we won the semi-final, I think we were all absolutely thrilled that, okay, we are going to the finals. And we were very relaxed, very chilled out. Actually, we didn't want to miss anything. We didn't want to take any pressure and all that. And it happened. I think some of the players reported late for the practice the following day because they overslept.
They were overslept. They partied and overslept.
Yes. And this kind of, I think the idea is to chill and relax. Don't think about the big game.
Your times were seriously very, very different from what teams are expected today. Also, you were the underdog. So just making it into the final, it would have been a big achievement, if I'm right. In this team's case, they're playing at home. They have been the team that has been tapped to win the title at home. There are such huge expectations. And with this run, you know, there's going to be more pressure on this team than possibly what you had.
No, I think it's not with the players. I think pressure with people. I think people think that way. I think because the players are used to this. They have played in front of big crowds and all that. They have done it all right so far. So they know that one more game to, of course, they are the favorites to win. The way they have been playing. There's no pressure. I think once you're on the field, you want to perform. And you want to perform to your best of abilities.
Absolutely. This is the greatest stage. And of course, Rohit Sharma, I remember when he was playing the first match against Australia, had talked about the significance of the World Cup. And he had said that, you know, you can win a lot of things, but unless you win that World Cup trophy, your cabinet is incomplete. And we all know the significance of the World Cup title, something that India has been waiting for 12 years now. But speaking of what happened in the last match, Monty, do you think at all, I don't know, people are not going to like that I asked this question, but do you think at all that Ashwin could be brought back into this bowling lineup because of what happened versus Australia in Chennai, even though this is happening in Ahmedabad?
No, I think that'll be a really big call to bring back, Ashwin into the fold, because they've got their sort of,
set 5 bowlers.
They've got their set of, the 5 bowlers. They've got their whole 11, team as they want it to be. And I think Hardik Pandya has probably been a bit of a blessing in disguise. His injury, it makes it a lot easier for Surya Kumar Yadav to come into the side. It gives clear decision making in terms of for Rahul Dravid and Rohit Sharma what the 11 is, and then also Surya Kumar Yadav doesn't have to look behind his shoulder. He can play with freedom as well, knowing that his place is there.
He's barely getting any chances. That's another matter.
The
Indian batting order has done so well. He's got not many opportunities since he's come in, but he's there.
Yeah, but because of Rohit Sharma. Rohit Sharma in the power play, he kind of averages, every 4 balls he hits a boundary, while the rest of the other batting lineup is every 6 to 7 balls. His strike rate's I think 135. He's taken the risk. After in that first over, when if they bat or if they chase or if they bat first, you're going to see he's going to go after the bowlers. He's put in. He's taken a bigger risk shots, so then the rest of the batting lineup, when they come in, they can play with a bit of freedom as well. And then the likes of Virat Kohli is the anchor. He's the guy who sort of bats long, and then everyone else kind of bats around him.
Yeah, absolutely. But Venki, the Australian pace line will also have their tails up, isn't it? I mean, Josh Hazelwood had done well. He had almost broken the back of the Indian top order in that last match. He's done well in the last match versus South Africa as well. Stark, as you were talking about yesterday, kind of looked like he came back to some form. What do you make of the Australian pace lineup, and could it pose problems for India?
Oh, 100%, 100%. I think they've got all the areas covered. When I said that, they have a left arm seamer in Stark. They have Josh Hazelwood, who pretty much bowls those test match lines and lengths, just hits the back of length, and because of the height, he gets an extra bit of bounce as well, and not express pace, probably high 130s, I would say, and Pat Cummins, with his experience, with his change of pace, with his variations, he's also a handful. I think probably, Zampa, he needs to be more effective, I suppose, because even last game when they played against South Africa, the semi-finals, I think he was not quite effective. He was not able to bowl the ball in the right areas. He's not a Shane Warne who could turn the ball from mid-lane leg to the off stump. So I think he was trying to sort of cut down on the runs. I suppose being defensive instead of showing an intent of taking wickets, I suppose. I mean, he went wicketless on a turner, ranked turner, I would say, the last semi-final, the second semi-final. So I think he needs to really put up a better show, and he needs to come up with a couple of wickets. And again, he's somebody who takes the ball away from the right-handed. And if you look at the top 6 in Indian team, they're all right-handers, and they do have the bowling attack, Shivani. They do have the bowling attack. They've got the pace, they've got the swing. And Mitchell Stark, coming back to him, talking about him, he's somebody who would like to bowl quick and bowl up to the batter, try to swing the ball and try to hit those pads. And if he get a couple of wickets early in the first 10 overs, then it's going to be really challenging for the Indian batting lineup.
Graham, we've talked about the Aussie mindset. Share with me a little bit of what comes to mind for you when you talk about that Aussie mindset, and how can that Aussie mindset be a roadblock for India?
Well, they're a very belligerent bunch. They'll truly believe that they're the favourites going into this game. Which they believe they're the favourites for everything in life. But they'll go in knowing that they can win if they all perform. But deep down, I think this team realise how much lies in the hands of the bowlers. If Mitchell Stark and Josh Hazelwood get them off to a good start, as Frankie says, if they can get 3 or 4 wickets early door, make inroads, that makes the game so much easier for Zampa when he bowls. That makes the game so much easier for Marsh. It's all about taking wickets against India, because that top 6, top 7, as I said the other day, is as strong as there's ever been in ODI cricket, I believe, the Indian top 7. And so you really need to get the middle order in against the new ball when it's moving around. So I think that the battle royale, the game within a game, if you like, the subplot, is all about the first 5 or 6 overs of the Indian innings, whether it's first or second innings, doesn't really matter. Whether Mitchell Stark can swing it, whether Rohit Sharma can get them off to another blitzkrieg of a start that everyone can follow. And as I sit here now, my gut feeling says that I'm so excited by that, because I just think no one can bowl at Rohit Sharma at the moment at the top of the order. He's just in the form of his life. I've a feeling that Australia might try and go short to him, because the ego of the Australians says that they have to bowl short, they have to bowl bounces, mate. And I think that will play into Rohit Sharma's hands, will just help it on its way. I'm so excited. And the problem is, for anyone playing against India at the moment, you have to focus on someone like Rohit Sharma. You have to focus on Virat Kohli, of course. But then these other guys, the lesser players, so to speak, Shreyas Iyer, Shubman Gill, they're plundering centuries. KL Rao's coming in at the death the other day. He's batting like Hardik Pandya, who's smashing sixes, scoring 40 runs off 20 balls. There's no weak link in that Indian batting at the moment. And so, I think Australia bowlers if Australia are to win this game, it will be their bowling attack that does it. I don't think they've got the batting to compete with India, but they've got the batting that can chase down a smaller total if their bowlers do the work.
Yes, you talked about how there's no, no chink as far as the batting lineup is concerned. There's been no chink in India's bowling lineup as well. We've been talking so much about how, you have the Bumrah and Siraj finish their first few overs. Then you have Shami come in. There's Jadeja, there's Kuldeep Yadav, and there's really no respite for anybody. But Monu, you want to add a little bit about what it is like to face an Aussie team? Why is it so difficult? Why is it such stuff of legend to face Australia? That too, an Australian team. No matter whether this is the same side that, let's say, Ricky Ponting led at one time, but why is it so difficult to beat them in a knockout of a World Cup?
Yeah, because they're a very confident side. They're a team that they come for the bigger games, and they'll be hoping that get 3 or 4 wickets down. Like Swanee said, that's the weakest link for India. That's all there is, really, to be honest. And rest of the sort of Australians, then they would start, be desperate for it if that doesn't happen. If India get to a really good start, then Australia will get a little bit desperate. They'll be wanting to sort of get early wickets quickly, and then you know what the Indian batting lineup is. They're very dominant, ruthless. They play with freedom, and they will take the Aussies on. They want to sort of, I think, like a lot of a billion people are saying back in 2003, that
Absolutely.
revenge, we want that revenge right on Sunday.
Absolutely.
And beat Australia.
I was telling all of our guests the other day, Jimmy Pauji was here, Ayaz was here in our studio. Ayaz, I'm telling you, my generation felt a scar of that loss. I was a teenager at that time. It was the first big match. I went out with friends to watch. And after that, I decided I'm never going out to watch a big India match because it's absolutely jinxed if you go out. But, I remember that day very, very clearly, and how all of our hearts collectively sank that day. And I know this team is not going to have a scar of that, possibly, because, they were not part of that side. But it would be nice to have some sweet revenge of that.
Yeah, Shivani, I was at the at Joburg when the final took place, and it was a pounding. Ricky Ponting was just so merciless, and by the time the innings ended, you knew what the result would be. India was still to bat, but one sensed the result because of the body language and the kind of drooping shoulders, etc., etc. But I think in international cricket, the pecking order has changed substantially. Over the last 20 years, these two teams are back in the final. But a lot has changed since then, especially in this tournament in the last couple of years. Yes, in 2019, we lost in the semi-finals. In 2015, we lost in the semi-finals to Australia, who were the ultimate winners. So it's not just one match you have to think about revenge. I think that came in 2011 when we beat them in the quarterfinals.
Yes.
And sent packing home and went on to win the title. But right now, I think the bigger issue of concern should be last 10 years, we haven't won anything significant. That should be the concern, not just revenge for 2003. That's gone. Because now, since 2003 Champions Trophy, there's been nothing to, as Rohit Sharma says, his mantelpiece, his cupboard is bare. He needs to put something there.
Absolutely.
And also in 2003, just correct me if I'm wrong, I think India won the toss and fielded first, isn't it? So probably that might not happen here. If India wins the toss, they would be batting first. So, so it's going to be different.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think they know what they need to do. The template is pretty much set for them. But they have been tested in a few different situations. And every time the Indian team has come out on top, and has come out on top with absolute flying colors. Let's also listen in to a few comments that are coming in from some former cricketers and more, and we'll come back right to our guests.
India will win the World Cup. They will start as favorites in the final. They played outstandingly well, and they don't have to do anything different. They just have to carry on from where they left in the last few games. And the good thing is, this team doesn't depend on 1 or 2 players. There have been 8 or 9 players performing game after game. So that's a brilliant sign.
Reaching the World Cup final is a tremendous achievement, something that doesn't happen often. And we've got 2 teams that are playing in it that have performed extremely well so far. Obviously, the way the Indians have been playing has been pretty special. So they'll be a tough team to beat. I think the Australians obviously have a lot of talent, a lot of impact players that can make a big difference in the game. I think they'll probably need to improve their middle order batting for maybe 10 or 20% to be a realistic chance of winning the World Cup final. So, obviously India are the clear favourites, but, the potential for Australia to win the World Cup is also there.
इंडिया अनबीटेबल इंडिया राइट नाउ जैसे खेल रहा है सो इट्स अमेजिंग एंड ऑल्सो बॉलिंग डिपार्टमेंट फील्डिंग डिपार्टमेंट ऑल्सो बैटिंग डिपार्टमेंट तीनों डिपार्टमेंट में अनबीटेबल है और जो 2003 में जो सौरभ गांगुली हार गया था फाइनल और एक रिवेंज भी बोल सकते हो अभी अहमदाबाद में 19 तारीख को पूरा देश भारत को सपोर्ट करेगा और हम लोग ट्रॉफी जीतेंगे जरूर बिकॉज इंडिया लीग पेजेस और ऑल्सो सेमीफाइनल में अभी तक कोई भी मैचेस नहीं हारा है नॉट ओनली नहीं हारा है डोमिनेट करके जीता है इंडिया अच्छा खेलेगा रोहित भी ब्रिलियंट कैप्टनसी कर रहा है
The standout feature for India this World Cup has been possibly one that has exceeded the expectation that anyone could have had is the way the Indian bowling unit has bowled. So we did have high expectations of our spinners, of course, in our Indian conditions. But the way Jasprit Bumrah has led the pace attack, the way Shami has come into his own and has aged like a bottle of fine wine, that has really been the standout feature. And as they say, it is the bowlers that win you the tournament. So it is these bowlers that have really got India to this final stage, and the team would be looking at them one more time. I have a conversation with Jasprit Bumrah's coach, Kishore Trivedi. Listen into what he has to say on Bumrah and just what makes him what he is.
किशोर जी ये बताइए जसप्रीत की सफ़र कैसी रही क्योंकि शुरुआत में आपने ही उसको देखा था और आपने ही पहचाना कि ये लड़का जो है उसमें काफ़ी टैलेंट है
जो निर्माण हाई स्कूल में मेरा कोचिंग कैंप चल रहा था तो वो रेगुलर स्टूडेंट की तरह आने लगा 4-5 दिन मैंने उसको देखा ऑब्जर्व किया तो सबसे अलग बॉलिंग स्टाइल थी उसकी तो सब लड़के नोटिस कर रहे कि ये लड़का तो ये तो थ्रो कर रहा है सर उसको ज़रा समझाइए को कम स्पीड में डाले क्योंकि हमको बहुत डर लगता है तो मैंने बोला कि नहीं वो एक्शन तो बराबर है लेकिन उसकी स्पीड ज़्यादा है इसकी वजह से आपको डर लगता है बाकी एक्शन तो बराबर प्रॉपर है तब से मैंने बोला कि भाई ये तुम्हारी एक्शन है वो चेंज नहीं करने का यही एक्शन पे तुम खेलते रहो
आपने कुछ एडवाइस भी दी क्योंकि यॉर्कर जो है बहुत कम लोग होते हैं हर किसी को फास्ट बॉलर बनना रहता है
यॉर्कर में तो क्या ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा मेहनत करनी पड़ती है आपको एक ऑब्जेक्टिव रखते हैं यॉर्कर की जो लेंथ होती है वहाँ पे कोई ऑब्जेक्टिव रख के आपको हर रोज एक घंटे उसको प्रैक्टिस करनी पड़ती है बॉल को कहाँ रिलीज करना पड़ेगा तभी और यॉर्कर की प्रैक्टिस करनी पड़ती है बॉल अगर आप पीछे से छोड़ेंगे तो हाफ फुल टॉस हो जाएगा लेकिन प्रॉपर एंगल से आप अगर बॉल छोड़ेंगे तो यॉर्कर कंप्लीट आ जाएगा तो इसके लिए कड़ी मेहनत जसप्रीत ने की और उसको कॉन्फिडेंस भी आ गया जब भी चाहता है वो यॉर्कर डाल ही देता है ऐसा नहीं कभी भी फुल टॉस आज तक तो मैंने देखा नहीं कि एक भी बॉल उसका फुल टॉस गया सही जगह पे वो स्पॉट करके बॉलिंग करता है तो यॉर्कर के लिए सबको ऐसे ही मेहनत करनी पड़ती है
Well, he's absolutely in a league of his own, isn't it, Jimmy Paji, Jasprit Bumrah? And it's so nice when you see people with awkward actions or awkward batting styles, for example, and they're not touched and they, come to international cricket with that. And, what a phenomenal job Jasprit Bumrah is doing for us.
Yeah, I think one shouldn't change your normal abilities because that's the way you've been brought up. That's the way you play the game. I think he's very awkward to, very honest to face because the way he takes the run up, he walks and then he runs and then his action is not easy to pick, to very honest. And he has got a lot of variation. And he can bowl quick. He has a lot of control with all kind of deliveries. So he developed an outswingers now, so which has created a lot of doubt in the mind of the batsman, in the quality batsman. See, what Aussie has done so far, if you just talk about Aussie, they have won the World Cup overseas or in Australia. And those conditions which are similar to their conditions. You talk about 87, after 87, they were here in 2011. They didn't do much in that. And other matches also, when they come and play in home series, they struggle over here.
They lost in 96 to Sri Lanka.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I think that the technique is not right for Indian condition as far as batting is concerned. And the bowling length is also different. They bowl to Australian length, the fast bowlers. If the wicket has pace, it's good. If the wicket's on a slower side, then you struggle. over there. So that's why Stark is important, as everybody talking.
Hmm.
He kept the ball up, but he can be expensive also. If the ball doesn't swing, then he will go all over. The runs will come very quickly. So it's very interesting to see how they bowl and how they bat against India.
Absolutely. That contest between the Aussie bowlers, especially the first up in the first few overs versus Rohit Sharma and Shubman Gill, is going to be the key contest to watch out for. Graham is right on that, because that's going to define exactly what happens, regardless of whether India bats first or not. But a word about Mohammad Shami as well now. How can we forget him? What an amazing tournament for him. He's been through a lot, Monty. He's come into the side, by chance. And we were all talking about this throughout the first 3-4 matches. Why is Mohammad Shami not playing for India? But he's destiny's child as far as this tournament is concerned.
Yeah, he's been brilliant. He's been a complete revelation. And I think, he's been taking wickets in his first few balls as well. And that kind of sets the tone for, India. And he's the guy who no one expected, for him to do so well. And in 6 games, I think he's the leading.
Imagine what would have happened if we had played all 10 games.
Yeah, but, it's he's the key. I think if he bowls well, as we've seen him do, right, then I think India could, win this. Don't be surprised. India could win this World Cup very comfortably. We've seen them when they bowl under the lights. They've just, bowled sides out very easily. Did it with South Africa, bowled them out for 83. Sri Lanka were 14 for 6 at one stage, and I thought they were going to get bowled out for 20. But Mohammad Shami has been absolutely brilliant, and he's been tough for him. Away from the game, but for him to come back, to show the resilience, the mental toughness, and to be absolutely ruthless. The Fab 3, I would say, Jasprit Bumrah, Mohammad Siraj, and Mohammad Shami. This is a very golden period in Indian cricket right now, which you never thought. 15, 20 years ago, you never thought that there would be 3 seamers.
Venky's here with us.
Yeah, Venky and Javagal Srinath, definitely, but he never had a third one.
They didn't have a third one.
He had to bowl the second and the third spell.
Well, just to add to what Jimmy Paji said and Monty has said about Indian fast bowling, I think what we need to appreciate about Indian pace is the intent that they've gone into the match. They've gone into with an intent of getting wickets and not being defensive. So it's a mindset. Our Murli Karthik, he keeps talking about the mindset, isn't it? So I think they've gone with a mindset. One is being positive, and also with a mindset of taking wickets, not bowling dot balls, not bowling defensive, and they have kept on attacking. They've kept on. 2 slips at times, and we have seen 3 slips at times, and so this is how you need to be going. So you need to have the intent of getting a wicket, not to be defensive. So I think the best way, attacking is the best form of defense. They keep saying. So whether it's batting or bowling, you have to keep on attacking, and keep on looking for wickets.
Graham, who would you pick? I know, apart from Rohit Sharma, that is one, but who would you pick as the absolute key for India, let's say, other than Rohit Sharma? Because I sense that, you're really looking at him as the match winner for us. An absolutely brilliant job he's doing at the top of the order, not worrying about his 50s or any milestones. He's just giving India the start that really sets them up. But apart from him, who's the key for you?
Well, I'm always going to look for the X Factor player, the rock star, and that has to be Jadeja. He's had a fairly quiet back end to this World Cup, mostly because the batting order have not really given him anything to do.
Yeah.
But I always look for big time players when the pressure is on, in the heat of the battle, times where even the world's best fail. Jadeja absolutely lives for those occasions. Just look at the IPL last year. Wins the whole IPL for the last 2 balls, 6 and a 4. He is the sort of player who makes me so confident in the Indian team, because even if wickets do fall, even if they do get in a chasing situation, he is, honestly, he's calmness personified when he walks out to bat. He doesn't look like he's bothered about anything. He can score all round. He can hit the winning runs. And then with the ball, I just don't think, if it's turning especially, the Aussies do not know how to play Jadeja. They're like the English. We don't know how to play Jadeja, neither do the Aussies. So I think for me, and he's a spinner as well, so I always look at the spinners.
Absolutely.
I am convinced that the man of the match in the World Cup final will be Jadeja.
Oh, wow. We've got one prediction for us, clear cut. We'll, of course, hold Swanee to that. Anyone else with their predictions of who the man of the match is going to be?
Indian team.
But I know Jimmy Paji loves Jadeja too. You also find him the X Factor
he's
player.
a fantastic player. You know, like I think we don't talk about him. We don't talk about his contribution and what he can do on the field. So he's absolutely a match winner in all three departments of the game.
Fielding as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, because he's such a player that when he comes, probably you want wickets, you want the run rate to come down. He can do it. Fielding is brilliant. Batting when he's needed or needed the most, he'll come and perform. But you need him to be there all the time. And I think one thing come to my mind, I know it may sound silly and all that. I think what I feel, what Aussie are going to do against Shami.
Yeah.
It may sound... See, Shami is a very accurate bowler. He bowls to stump to stump, and he bowls maybe in the area where they may attack Shami if they get a good start.
If the Aussies get a good start, and by the time he comes, they may have their tails up.
Sounds silly, but it can happen.
No, it could happen. Actually, the way Warner and Head came out to bat the other day, it was very clear that they were showing a lot of intent. Yes, it was a low score that they were chasing, so you can have that liberty at the top of the order. But they can be brutal too.
No, the other thing, because see, he's the main bowler.
Yeah. If they destroy his rhythm.
So they may just attack him, you know, knowing Aussie temperament and all that. So go with two ons and just like a bull.
Take the battle to Mohammad Shami,
absolutely,
the best bowler on the field.
So let's do what happens, you know.
Absolutely.
It
That
will
will
be
be a good
interesting
contest
if it
to watch.
happens, actually.
Yeah, it will be a good contest to watch exactly who comes out on trumps. But, you know, interesting, Monty used the word ruthless. And, you know, I asked an interesting aspect came to my mind. You know, this is a bowling lineup which is actually, you know, how should I put it? They're not quite the ferocious bowlers, pacers we know. Their conduct on the field is actually, you know, very quiet. They're not in your face. Jasprit Bumrah, Mohammad Shami, maybe Siraj a little bit. But, you know, the other two are very calm and composed. They're not the kind of pacers we know who get in your face and are, you know, very, very ruthless and aggressive on the field. They let their ball do their talking, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that's the old stereotype of fast bowlers. I mean, there has been a change in that. I mean, Siraj is feisty.
Yeah.
I think Shami, what he has shown in this World Cup is, you know, he's making the ball talk rather than talking himself. And just Bumrah has always been a mellow kind of a performer. He can be very aggressive, as we all know. But you know, I think by and large, Indian fast bowlers, even Venki, one of them is sitting here, you know, they've not been demonstrative on the field. They've not been tantrum prone. They've been prepared and happy to let their skill show up for what it is, you know, and that I think is a great way to go, because if you get temperamental, you can also be kind of, you know, you could be exploited by the opponents. We've seen that happen, you know, sometimes fast bowlers lose their heads and they can go all over the place. And especially in a match like this, you don't want that to happen. We saw that incidentally, you know, in a very minor way, Afghanistan versus Australia. You know, Maxwell is in one leg, and the kind of bowling line or the length which they should have maintained, yes, lack of experience, whatever else, but they just bowled the wrong stuff to him. And then he had this long partnership with Cummins, and they, you know, took Australia home. And I just want to make this point that Australia has actually had 4 or 5 really close matches. I mean, the first one against India in this, because, you know, they were bowled out for 199, but they got 3 wickets for 2 runs. You know, it made it tough for India at the start. But then the match against Afghanistan, the match against New Zealand, and this last semi-final against South Africa, they could have lost any of those matches, and they won all of those. So they've been through the grind, and they've come out, you know, seasoned, I would say, or primed up for a final.
Yeah, in that sense, slightly different build-ups for India and Australia.
Yes.
Australia has had to grind its wins and come to the final. India, in comparison especially, has looked like they have sailed into the final. But both teams will take a lot of confidence from their build-up respectively. Very quickly, I want to play out this reaction of Shami's family and coach, because what a moment it has been for them. The Prime Minister has singled out Shami for his praise. Sachin Tendulkar called it a Shami final instead of a semi-final the other day. And this man truly deserves the limelight he's getting right now. Listen in from his family.
पूरे ही देश में समझ लो दीवारी दोबारा हो चुकी है। शामी भाई ने परफॉर्मेंस बहुत अच्छी की है। 7 विकेट लेना बहुत बड़ी उपलब्धि है, हम सब के लिए बहुत गर्व की बात है और पूरे देश को शामी भाई ने सेमीफाइनल जिताकर फाइनल में पहुंचा दिया है। ये हमारे और देश के लिए गर्व की बात है। शामी भाई ने 7 विकेट लिए हैं और लगातार सबसे ज्यादा 5 विकेट लेने वाले शामी भाई बॉलर बन चुके हैं वर्ल्ड कप में और इस वर्ल्ड कप में मोस्ट विकेट टेकर, और उम्मीद करते हैं शामी भाई मैन ऑफ द सीरीज भी बने और इसी तरीके से टीम इंडिया का सिलसिला जारी रहे और इंडिया फाइनल भी जीते।
ये बेनतहा खुशी की बात है, कोई भी स्टूडेंट आपका इतना जबरदस्त परफॉर्म करे और खासतौर से वो भी वर्ल्ड कप जैसे टूर्नामेंट में जो और सेमीफाइनल जिताया अपनी परफॉर्मेंस से, तो बेनतहा खुशी है। इस खुशी के लिए तो मेरे पास अल्फाज ही नहीं है। वो बहुत ही शुरू से ही शांत स्वभाव का लड़का रहा है, शुरू से ही, और बेनतहा मेहनती रहा है। देखिए बच्चे तो बहुत सारे होते हैं लेकिन कुछ बच्चे अलग होते हैं बिल्कुल, जो उसमें से ही वो था, क्योंकि देखिए जितनी मेहनत उसने की है शायद उससे आधी भी अगर कोई बच्चा मेहनत कर ले तो वो सक्सेस हो सकता है। देखिए एडवाइस देने की जरूरत ही नहीं पड़ती, इतना अच्छा कर रहा है। अब आप बताइए 5 विकेट ले रहा है, 5-5 विकेट टूर्नामेंट में ले रहा है, 4-4 विकेट ले रहा है, 7 विकेट ले डाले, तो और क्या कराना चाहे हम उससे। वनडे में 7 विकेट तो मेरे ख्याल से इंडिया में आज तक किसी ने लिए नहीं।
He's right about that. Mohammad Shami now has the best figures in ODI for India. And he did say, for the benefit of Graham Swan, that Mohammad Shami has always been a calm and quiet student, and but always one of the most hard-working students. So he's one more 5-wicket haul away from ending as the highest wicket taker in this ever in a World Cup edition, actually. So he has 23. He'll look for some more. Final minute left with me. So I always go around my panel looking for some predictions. Jimmy Paji, are you going to hazard any guess? 70-30, 80-20 India?
We still have one more day to go for predictions.
So he's going to give us one maybe before the match on Sunday.
Yeah.
Mondi, what does your heart and your head tell you?
Yeah, look, I think India will win this World Cup, and I'll be surprised if Australia somehow compete. I think India are firm favourites.
Comfortably, you
Comfortably, yeah.
Swan, what do you think?
The fireworks in Ahmedabad will be blue.
It's going to be attended by the who's who. Ayaz, what is your take?
I mean, seeing the form India is in, I would have said 75-25, but knowing that it's Australia in the final and the way they're known to fight and kind of performances they've had in the past, I would say 55-45, and that's good enough. Once you win, you win, 55.
Once you're over the line, you're over the line. Doesn't matter by how many wickets.
Why not 51-49?
51-49 also, yeah.
Venki?
It's going to be tricolour all the way.
All the way. Okay, I'll end on that note. That's a good note to end on. Sorry, you come in the Indian jersey or wear the tricolour somehow on Sunday.
I'll find it. Don't you worry. I'll have Vera on my back come the final. I'll find one.
All right. Manji Pandesar, thanks a lot for joining us for this special show. And a big thanks to our expert panel as well. We'll slip into a very short break. On the other side, we have some more special conversations, all building up to that mega finale on Sunday in Ahmedabad. So stay tuned.
Co-presented by